January 6, 2021, marks the anniversary of a day that will forever stain this nation in infamy. MAGA zealots and their right-wing cronies deny, downplay, and lie through their teeth about what happened on this day in 2021, the most disgraceful insurrection since the Civil War. And now the unthinkable. Donald Trump is poised to claw his way back into power, likely pardoning the very traitors who tried to tear this country apart. It's not just an insult, it's a cancer eating away at democracy itself. Where the hell are the voices condemning this madness? Let me shine a light on one, but I'll tell you now, it sure as hell wasn't on NBC. Here's Kristen Welker, one day before this grim anniversary, interviewing Chuck Schumer. Was she demanding answers about how Democrats plan to stop Trump's return? Was she pressing for a strategy to protect democracy from another MAGA-fueled assault? Hell no. Instead, she asked,
Leader Schumer, what do you say to Americans who feel as though you and other top Democrats misled them about President Biden's mental acuity?
Look, we didn't. And let's look at President Biden. He's had an amazing record. The legislation we passed, one of the most significant groups of legislation since Lyndon Johnson's Great Society, putting in 235 judges, a record, and he's a patriot. He's a great guy. And when he stepped down, he did it on his own because he thought it was better not only for the Democratic Party, for America. We should all salute him. We should all salute him.
Are you kidding me? Biden, who has achieved more in his term than most presidents in decades, is the target of this nonsense, and Schumer plays along instead of seizing the moment to obliterate Trump? Why are we being led by spineless politicians like him, incapable of standing firm against fascism when it matters most? On a day when the bravery of those who stood against the insurrection should have been front and center, the New York Times had to do the job our leaders in media shirked. They published a powerful editorial by Aquilino Gonell, a former Capitol Police sergeant who bled for this nation while defending democracy on January 6th. His words are a gut punch of reality MAGA stooges will never acknowledge. He said this, "For those who didn't experience the violence, January 6, 2021 might feel like it's in the past, but it's not for me. I keep reliving the 5 horrific hours of that cold Wednesday afternoon as I try to protect elected officials, regardless of their political ideology and their staffs, inside the Capitol building, all without firing my gun." It then goes on to say, "For my efforts doing my duty as a Capitol Police sergeant, I was beaten and struck by raging rioters all over my body with multiple weapons until I was covered in my own blood. My hand, foot, and shoulder were wounded. I thought I was going to die and never make it home to see my wife and young son. I required multiple surgeries, years of rehab and treatment for recurrences of the post-traumatic stress disorder I was diagnosed with in the Army. I was vilified and called a traitor as Mr. Trump and some of his fellow Republicans called the riot a day of love and a peaceful protest by warriors, patriots, political prisoners, and mistreated hostages. And here's the thing that really underscores why mega morons are total dupes and fools: carrying out the will of spoiled, rich, demented narcissists who cares nothing for them, let alone the rule of law. Listen as Sergeant Gonell compares his past to Trump. I grew up poor in the Dominican Republic, came to this country legally at age 12, and became the first in my family to finish high school and college. I lived in Brooklyn, just a few miles from where Mr. Trump grew up in Queens, yet the metaphoric distance between us was vast. My dad was a taxi driver who could give me only $100 to help pay for college. Mr. Trump's father was a real estate developer who bequeathed him at least $413 million over. Gonell was maimed protecting our country while Trump, a privileged coward and con man, sat comfortably at the top of a gilded tower, laughing at the fools doing his dirty work. And now this grifter, who should be rotting in prison, is poised to waltz back into power, pardoning his violent disciples along the way. Here's the ugly truth MAGA won't face. They have far more in common with Gonell than they ever will with Trump. But instead of waking up, they cling to their grievances, their violence, their blind loyalty to a man who doesn't give a damn about them or anyone else. And why? Because it's easier. Easier to parrot Fox News' lies than to question why their lives haven't improved. Easier to lash out than to admit they've been conned. Easier to be the attack dogs of billionaires and autocrats than to face the hard truth and take a stand for what's right. The question is, will they ever snap out of it? Will they ever have the guts to admit they've been wrong and fight to get on the right side of history? The answer is no, not without strong Democratic leadership willing to call this out, to fight tooth and nail, to put a clear, forceful plan in place. And we, the people who do care, have to hold them accountable. We have to challenge the spineless legacy media. We have to fight back against the billionaires hijacking our platforms to amplify lies. But let's start with this. Never forget, never forgive, and never stop fighting.
They were peaceful people. These were great people. The crowd was unbelievable. And I mentioned the word love, the love in the air. I've never seen anything like it.